Nigeria, particularly the Senator representing Lagos Central, my distinguished Senator Sani Wasiu Eshilokun, distinguished Senator Oluranti Adebule representing Lagos West, and distinguished Senator Adetokunbo Abiru representing Lagos East. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. Please permit me to start by first thanking God Almighty for today and His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for this nomination and for the confidence being reposed in me to serve our great nation in the capacity of Honorable Minister of Industries, Trade and Investment, if cleared by the Senate today. I'm the third of 4 children. My late father, Professor Olufolabi Olumide, was a surgeon and the first Vice Chancellor of Lagos State University. My mother, Mrs. Clara Folashade Abiodun Olumide Nisholarin, was the first female registrar of the University of Lagos. I'm married with 2 children. I started primary school at the University of Lagos Staff School and attended Queen's College, Yaba, Lagos for my secondary education. For my undergraduate studies, I attended the Faculty of Law, University of Lagos, and was called to the Nigerian bar in 1999. I obtained my first master's degree from Cambridge University, England, with a concentration in commercial law, and then earned a second master's degree in international trade law, as well as a doctorate degree, both from Stanford Law School in the United States of America. My doctoral dissertation centered on negotiation asymmetry and developing country coalition strategy at the WTO. For my career, I started in investment banking at FCMB Capital Markets, a division of First City Merchant Bank, PLC. I then worked at Guarantee Trust Bank, PLC, before leaving 20 years ago to pursue a career in the academia so I could invest in developing the capacity of young Nigerians to build our economy. I joined the Faculty of Law, University of Lagos in 2004, where I taught, researched, and published papers across several areas in the commercial and international law space. Since 2015, I have been on loan to the federal government of Nigeria, first as Senior Special Assistant to the President on Industry, Trade and Investment, and subsequently as Special Advisor to the President on Ease of Doing Business, both in the Office of the Vice President. I am currently the Special Advisor to the President on Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, and Investment in the Office of the Vice President, a position I have occupied since October 2023. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself.
Yeah. Let's start from the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Once more, my name is Abamoro. Once more, let me remind all of us here that the nominee standing before all of us here is a great Akokite. And as a great Akokite, a great Akokite,
What does that mean?
a product of the University of Lagos.
Huh?
A product of the University of Lagos. Akoka, Lagos.
Okay.
Akoka, Yaba, Lagos.
Oh, okay.
And that institution is actually the citadel of learning in Nigeria.
Well, I was. I speak to the resume of the nominee because the way you sounded
as a matter of fact, that is why her whole educational achievement that has culminated in the Harvard School in the Massachusetts started. So that's the foundation. And so, sir, I only want to say at this moment that great Akokas are always excelling in whatever position they find themselves. And so the resume,
Senator Abamodo,
the resume of the...
You belong to Pan Wine Drinkers Club. What do they call them?
You got it very right. At the University of Lagos, I was the director of the emblem, if you know what I mean. So, sir, on a very serious note, looking at the very rich resume of the nominee, I don't have any doubt in my mind, but to say that in the current exercise that we are carrying on, I think Mr. President has demonstrated some level of capacity to pick very, very vibrant persons, especially young ones, to man the various ministries, because the future belongs to the young people. And so if they are picked now to lead in the positions of government, I think they should show some commitment to build a future that they can inherit. And that is why I want to say that looking at this resume, quite frankly, from being from the best universities in the world to being advisor to the president on trade, on industry, and whatever, I think that we can only pray for her when she's eventually confirmed here to do her very best to ensure that our trade and investment improves very significantly. Because our fortunes in foreign direct investment, quite frankly, has been dwindling. And I hope that with her knowledge and experience, with her standing in the various aspects of trade and investment, she should be able to improve on our foreign direct investment in this country, because that is the hub of investment. And we need, some of the conditions may be outside her circumstances, but quite frankly, I think a greater job of it depends on the person with the ideas, the person with the proper knowledge to do the right thing. And I think that she fits into that bill. And so I support her nomination, and I hope that my colleagues will support her nomination and approve her nomination so that she can hit the ground running as a great advocate. Thank you very much, sir.
Listening to the minority leader commending Mr. President, sometimes I'm tempted to say that the president got it so right that the Senate should not bother and should tell the... I mean, if you agree with me. So this thing we normally hear, MIT. MIT is actually Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Is that what it is? Is that where you went to? Every time you say Akokai, what is Akokai? Okay. Thank you, minority leader. But please, let us try and ask the nominee question, because she came here brimming with ideas of what she will bring to the table. The front, let's start from... You want to speak? But you just came in. Okay, before or after the majority leader? Huh? You were not there. Were you there when she came in? No, you were not there. Okay, let us start with the Southwest, the leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I thank you, my able colleagues, senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, I want to join also in commending the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for understanding and responding to the mood of the nation. Mr. President, Nigerians want changes in different sectors of our economy, of our nation, as soon as yesterday. And nothing is going to change unless we first change ourselves, and there's a change in the orientation as to the kind of people that we put forward to take over certain salient and peculiar responsibilities. Mr. Speaker, the nominee standing before us is Mr. President. Well, please, Mr. President, I need your protection from the minority leader who is trying to distract me. Mr. President, standing before us is a nominee who is not just a brilliant and accomplished thinker, but an extremely decent person. She worked as a banker. One of the major responsibilities of this ministry to which is being posted is to also manage and oversight banks. The Bank of Industry, Afrexim Bank, and some other finance-related institutions are a part of this ministry. Mr. President, she has worked as a public servant, having the right exposure up till this moment, and is in a position to hit the ground running in this ministry. She has worked as a teacher, lecturer, senior lecturer in the university, including the Lagos Business School. Her exposure, her education, her upbringing, child of a renowned professor, child of first female registrar of a renowned university. And those of us who also know her and members of the family, both the nuclear family and the extended family, can attest to the fact that she will be a round peg in a round hole. My only concern for her, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, is just that Nigerians who are familiar with her antecedents and the international community who understands her understanding of the language of development and the language of global best practice standards will have so much expectation from her. That is my concern, and I know by the grace of God she'll be able to live up to that expectation. I can go on, but I won't, because I know time is of the essence, and I don't want to deny my colleagues an opportunity to speak. But let me just say that I believe the confirmation of this nominee by this hallowed chamber will be the right thing to do, and we also would have indulged in the same attitude and the search for a change which motivated Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief in making this nomination. I thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you. Deputy Senate President.
Mr. President, thank you.
Just before then, please. The special advisor, make sure all these code of conduct declarations inserted into all the CVs are removed. All we need, this one is there. This, what of this? Huh? What of this? I'm saying, please, make sure that you return all to the owners. We only need the acknowledgement slip. We don't need their code of conduct. It's their private affair. It's not meant for us. So please retrieve all the CVs of all the nominees and return all their code of conduct declarations. All we need is just the acknowledgement slip, nothing more than that, because this is a private affair. Otherwise, you'll see social media will start publishing all sorts of things about them. Do you understand? Okay, please. Yes.
Sir, thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair. Mr. President, I'm compelled, I feel compelled to ask for your permission to speak because I think the president has to be commended for nominating the nominee. The nominee is a good example of a womanhood of our women in this country. It's a very good example because of her outstanding pedigree. Outstanding pedigree. She began from Queen's College, did law. I mean, after Queen's College, she went to University of Lagos, did law, but she wasn't satisfied. She has to go to Cambridge to do law again. Then moved to Stanford, an Ivy League college. Moved to another Ivy League college. MIT in Boston. This is amazing.
So you want to ask her how she will bring how she will bring all those qualifications to bear in her job?
No. No, what I'm saying is this.
Because I've seen people with a lot.
I'm amazed.
I've seen people with certificates and grammar, and they don't even know the meaning of democracy. Just in Edo State there, we had a governor who ruled for 8 years with only 10 members, and he not swear in for 14. And he went to all these grammar schools and all that. Let's concentrate on what she will bring to bear.
That's it.
How those all those
Your Excellency, Mr.
how all those degrees will
Mr. President, can you give what you don't have?
into tangible benefit for Nigeria.
Mr. President, nobody can give what that person don't have. She has a background, and I'm sure, going by what she has done so far in the public service, she'll do more. And we need to encourage our women. Once they do well, we should encourage them. So that our children at home.
We should encourage them also in Kano.
Of course, yes. Of course, yes. Our women in the entire country, we're encouraging them. Because this is an astounding pedigree. This nominee has an astounding...
When are we going to have the first elected female member of the Kano House of Assembly?
Well, when God wants that to be done, we believe we are people of faith. In Kano, we are 99.9% Muslims. So what God says, how a woman will do it. We believe in God's time. You see, but it is always said that a golden fish has no hiding place. And when you see something, we'll say it.
Go ahead.
I was with you with Mr. President yesterday. He said he believes in people that have capacity. I can see why he decided to be this nominee. She has the capacity.
I'm with you.
She has the capacity. And I have to strengthen this. We need to expose her more so that our girls, our women will learn from her.
I was there.
So that they will learn from her. Right? I'm not going to ask you a question. I just want to say so that our women will benefit from your kind of record. Will see your record, and so they will try to emulate you. And so please, once you are cleared and confirmed, please do in line with the way you started. You started very well from Queen's College to Cambridge to Boston. You've gone everywhere in search of education. Put that into use. Put that to use for the benefit of this country.
Exactly.
So that you join hands with Mr. President to bring prosperity to our nation. Exactly. I congratulate you.
Thank you. The Deputy Senate President. So, you see, Mr. President has shown the way by encouraging women. All I ask you is, in Kano, by 2027, let's have the first elected female member in the Kano House of Assembly. Let's start from there. Yes, the Chief Whip.
Distinguished President of the Senate, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Well, I associate myself with all the encomiums fought on the nominee as a result of the very rich resume before us. Having associated with that, I want to ask a question. I have carefully perused through your resume and the various contributions, your widow's mite that you have contributed towards the ease of doing business in Nigeria, which is one of the major cog in the wheel of our developmental aspirations. One of the reasons that drives away or discourages foreign direct investment in this country is as a result of the bureaucratic red tape and bottlenecks that is usually associated with doing business in Nigeria. I have seen you have been a special advisor on ease of doing business. You have been a secretary of that council. What have you done so far to attract foreign direct investment by way of ease of doing business? What mechanisms have you put in place for the purpose of achieving that? And leveraging on your new elevation to the position of minister, what again are you going to bring to the table to ensure that there is ease of doing business in this country, doing away with all the bureaucratic bottlenecks and red tapes, so that we will attract foreign direct investment to this country and grow our economy? Thank you.
May Allah bless the chief whip of the Senate. I hope you noted that down. Distinguished Senator Ishilogu, this is your nominee.
Thank you, Mr. President. She's from Lagos Central. She's from Isalioko, where I also come from. And I think she is a fit and proper person to occupy the position of the Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Notwithstanding the combined effects of Section 147, subsection 1, 2, and 5, Section 65, subsection 2A and B. These nominees come with great potential.
Those sections they are quoting, are they relevant to what we are doing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Yes, sir. Very, very.
Read one of them. Read.
Okay, sir. I will read 147, section 1 and 2. There shall be such offices of ministers of the government of the Federation as may be established by the President. Any appointment to the office of the minister of the government of the Federation shall, if the nomination of any person to such office is confirmed by the Senate, be made by the President. 5 talks about the eligibility. It says, no person shall be appointed as a minister of the government of the Federation unless he is qualified for election as a member of the House of Representatives.
You've captured it. You are talking about the competence, capacity, and the qualifications. So,
yes, I will go to that, sir.
It's relevant to what we are discussing.
Yes,
so continue.
The fact that he's been around, when you look at his curriculum fighter, he's been around without any scandal, he's been contributing quietly to the development and progress of Nigeria. And we can also, my colleagues, they spoke about the capability. He went to some of the best schools. I can attest to it because I was there. I went to University of Lagos for my master's, and I did master's in international law and diplomacy. I can attest to the fact that the kind of training you receive will prepare you for the future. I was also at the Harvard Law School. I was also at Harvard Kennedy School of Government. I know.
Wait. People should not don't intimidate us here.
You were the one that asked, sir. So, because I was there.
Speak to this. You said you were there.
Also, when you look at our resume, you will also see that she's been involved, as it were, in WTO. WTO is simply the World Trade Organization that deals with the international trade and all these, what we're talking about, and she is going to be Minister of Trade and Investment. That teaches you that comparative advantage of states on what they should do, how you can export it when you have comparative advantage. It also teaches you the safeguard that is inherent in all those provisions. That because he has done all of that, she will be of great. She is a great asset. She's going to be a great asset to to the Ministry of Trade and Investment. I am not surprised that she is being involved in all of this. I also want to tell you that she is from Sueno, family of Isaleko. That will say that she's going to be responsible. She will work without acrimony with our colleagues and also our staff and also the committee of Lagos. We are attesting to that she will be a good ambassador. She's been a good ambassador. She will continue to be a good ambassador, and she will continue to contribute effectively and to the progress and of this nation. I commend Dr. Jumoke, Oduwole, to the Senate and for confirmation. Please, I've noticed the sudden interest of my colleagues wanting to ask questions. You are entitled to it. But remember, we do not ask your nominees questions. Please temper justice with mercy. We did not. Please.
You know, was you, Nshilogu, normally you are such a calm man. I don't know that you can have this kind of side. To be very honest, I'm very impressed with your submission. And even the fact that we recognize you to speak, and she also hails from Isaleko, like you, and then you are the senator there. I think your speech should actually be taken by all. I think, am I right? I don't think there's any need for the Senate to go further. But I don't know why do we have so much interest in Jumoke? She's ably qualified for you to consider. From what I'm hearing, everybody, we wouldn't Abdul Fattah. I didn't recognize you. I only mentioned your
sorry.
Okay, so distinguished, you can go ahead, but please make it short, because what Nshilogu, the speech of Nshilogu has sealed it.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Has shown that she has the capacity. We will put the question, right? Okay, maybe after you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Buhari Abdul Fattah. I was eager to talk because I chair the industry committee at the 8th Assembly.
No, you have to say something.
I chair the industry committee at the 8th Assembly, and I know what is happening there. So my question straight to Madam is, number one, there are about 9 agencies under industry alone, apart from trade and investment. And these 2 big agencies are going to be under you. And if you see Bank of Industry, they concentrate only on the big industry. What are you going to do to help Nigerians who are just coming up that needed only small amount for their business to strive? Number 2, a lot of moribund companies in the country today. What are your plans for you to handle some of them so that they will be able to survive and increase employment rate of our youth roaming the street? Number 3, most companies or industries are leaving Nigeria today to the neighboring countries, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and the rest. What are the plans or the incentive you are going to give to sustain most of them to stay behind, probably after we have improved electricity? And then, lastly, what is the encouragement that you are going to give our local industry to export whatever they are producing here in order for us to get more foreign exchange to sustain and help our own economy? Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for that. Senator Sani Musa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District. First, like my colleagues have done, to commend Mr. President for this especially this singular appointment. Because just as the Reverend said, a square peg in a square hole. She is. Nigeria has been diligently working under this administration to ease doing business. We have seen what has happened previously in this country. Minister of Trade and Investment, your functions, a lot of people tend to confuse it with industries. But the framework for any industry to work must have a subtle and well-defined trade and investment policies for a country to be able to get it right. You were a special advisor on the ease of doing business. You have an interaction with WTO, and I'm sure you know quite a lot of things that have been happening within our own domain, especially when it comes to do with tax waivers, tax holidays, startups incentives that usually come from Ministry of Investment, Ministry of Trade, and a lot of abuses that have been going on. In the last 5 years, Nigeria have lost close to about 17 trillion in waivers, in holidays. The policies we have in the free zones, as Minister of Investment, Trade and Investment, you will need to look at them. They should not be different from what is being practiced in other advanced economies. I know with your qualification and exposure, you will turn around Ministry of Trade and Investment. You make sure that issues where waivers are just given for everything is looked into so that Nigeria can yield more. And even those companies that are running away out of Nigeria, there's a lot of capital repatriation that they are doing instead of direct foreign investment coming into this country. They are coming to take a lot out of this country. So I'm sure you will come with your experiences to make things better for this country. I congratulate you, and I believe that you are going to do the best for this country in that sector. Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Adams Jumoke.
Thank you very, 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 very much indeed. I guess that the reason a lot of us want to talk is precisely because she's worth talking to. Nobody wants to ask a fool a question. But your CV says it all, quite intimidating. I'm also proud to be able to say that my daughter went to Stanford. She's a doctor, a fellow in Stanford. So I am at home with your CV. I'm also convinced that, Mr. President, your nomination is different from others. Like the Senate President said, you can have a ton of academic qualifications to teach, to be intellectually sound, different from being a doer. What makes your case compelling for me, why I don't think this Senate will have no hesitation, we should have no hesitation in confirming you, is because the President has appointed an insider who has worked with him. And therefore, I want to assume, and I believe he has done so because he's satisfied with your performance at the current level that you are serving. And I congratulate you for that. It's not hard, it's not easy to earn the trust of Mr. President, and you have earned it. Which is why I am able to ask you, therefore, what will you do differently? Mr. Senate President, you've summarized in your opening remark, you draw our attention to what many Nigerians will be expecting from the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment. You reminded us of those industries that have relocated. Not that they went bankrupt. They simply relocated elsewhere. You mentioned a few of them, and I can mention several more across the country. Michelin, Dunlop, the textile sector, the rubber sector, they've all relocated. And yet, Nigeria is their key market. Now, what I was going to ask is, and given your training, you didn't just went to WTO. You have a spell of training around trade issues. So you are truly more than a square peg in a square hole, but in a ministry that will define the success and failure of any government. Are we going to continue to export jobs and import unemployment? Or are we going to create jobs and use our population as an incentive to bring foreign investors, not only to come, but to remain here? What are we going to do to protect current investors, which for me is the best advert to attract foreign investors to come? When Senator Sani was talking, I had mixed feeling about his contribution. Because, Mr. President, sir, some of those waivers are meant to be part of the incentive. Tax holidays are meant to be part of well-thought-out incentive because investors are greedy by nature. So you need to give them a bait to bring them in and tell them whatever profit you make for the first X number of years, you will pocket it. Those are the kind of issues. So it is not necessarily wasted, except where the application is now informed by some other consideration that might be inimical to sustainable growth and development. What can you do straight away? Can we ever get the auto industry back? You are in Lagos, and I'm sure you are not too young to remember Volkswagen. Today they make beautiful vehicles. So, is there any hope if we revise our policies that led them to vote with their feet? What kind of policy do you think we need to have in place for the automobile sectors to come back? The Volkswagen of this world, the Toyotas of this world, the Peugeot, the Mercedes-Benz, all of them that are on Nigeria roads today, they were here before. Now we consume, you will know, I'm sure as having been in the system, how many tires made by Dunlop or Michelin that are consumed in Nigeria, even after they have voted with their feet, they target us for their market. What do we do to use our population as the main instrument to bring them back? And with your knowledge of WTO, are you sure they are fair? Their rules are fair to countries that are growing. At a time when even America, as we speak today, has imposed 100% duty on cars made in China. They are the greatest proponent of free trade, but they recognize the danger of not protecting American auto industry. So to protect General Motors and all those companies in the US that are manufacturing cars, particularly these electronic cars, the Chinese appear to have mastered the skill so that the way the General Motors can compete is for America to increase their duty by 100%. So what will we do as Nigeria? To say to Dunlop, you can't sell here if you don't locate here. To tell Michelin, if you left us, your product cannot come here. Because that is the only thing we have to sell, our size. The textile industry, of course, looking at the way we dress, and Mr. Senate President, when I was a textile worker, you are an example of Nigerian consumption pattern. Our consumption per capita is higher than average in Africa, or even in the world, because of our mode of traditional dressing. One person wearing 8 meters at his strength. Forget about my own small size of 2 feet by 2 feet. So I congratulate you. I believe you deserve to be confirmed, but I want to be educated, using the opportunity of this hearing as to how do we deal with this challenge of more companies leaving us and yet selling their goods to Nigeria. All those textile factories, Mr. President, that left, they didn't leave Nigeria alone. They just relocated. Instead of having Chinese company, now we have Chinatown. What do they sell in Chinatown? They sell all sorts of things, including substandard fabrics. But in Nigeria, they were producing high-quality fabric in Ikorodu in Lagos, since you are from Lagos State. Ikorodu is gone. Aflon is gone. President clothing, where they were making the kind of clothes our president is wearing, gone. Not that they never went bankrupt. They relocated. So how do we bring them back? Awolowo's legacy, Nigeria Textile Mill Ikeja, gone. What we achieved in the 60s, we have lost it in the 90s. So I am very confident that given your knowledge of trade negotiation, because trade policy is at the root of it, given your training and your experience with WTO, for which some of us are very, very critical. I got as far as China, Hong Kong, to protest against WTO, where they want to tell third world countries to dumping ground for Western goods. So I want to be educated by you. I'm not doubting your competence, but I believe that you are worth asking questions so that we can go home better informed about our future with regards to industry, trade, and investment.
Thank you. I don't know whether you want to finish the questions and answer all at once?
Yes.
Yes, because you have to understand that sometimes having this kind of fantastic resume can also be a problem. So, because everybody thinks that she's very exposed, she's very highly educated, and she's very qualified if the Senate thinks so. And therefore, they would like to hear from her how she will reposition trade and investment. This is actually why you have so much hands up, because of your resume. I even noticed now that you even have, you've been given a national honor, or a member of the Federal Republic, MFR. That is because of your past record. So you have a lot to contribute. Let me just give 2 chances to people, and then I give you an opportunity to answer. Distinguished Senator Issa Jibril.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I am Issa Jibril, representing the very good people of Kogi East. Your Excellency, my comments are advisory in nature.
Advisory?
Advisory, yes. I want to dwell on the nexus between ease of doing business and import substitution strategy. As you are aware, so many goods are still being imported into Nigeria, and the government is trying the best it can to ensure that these items are produced in Nigeria. First, to ensure that we make maximum use of our raw materials, to also ensure that the drain on our foreign exchange reserve is curtailed, and to ensure that employment opportunities are generated. But the import substitution strategy in Nigeria is not working. The companies here are not properly protected, and I want you to take note of that. They are not sufficiently protected. Your Excellency, there are situations where some of these items imported into Nigeria, are cheaper than those that are cheaper. It is in fact less expensive, to buy some of these items from outside than those from within. The implication of that is that cost of doing business here is so high. We need to take a look at that. Okay? Your Excellency, I want to also suggest that there should be a relationship, and a very strong one at that, between this ministry and Raw Material Research Institute. There are so many additives, that are imported into Nigeria today, especially in the pharmaceutical and chemical industries. Those additives can be produced in Nigeria. If you liaise with the Raw Material Research Institute, they will tell you they can be produced in Nigeria. We need to create an industrial hub, where some of these companies, and they are not big companies, these are small to medium-sized companies. You keep these companies there, incubate them, give them all the necessary incentives. They will be able to produce some of these additives, and these additives are very important. Without them, production cannot go on. Without them, you cannot complete production, process in Nigeria, especially in the pharmaceutical, like I said, and in the chemical industry. I want you to set up a unit in your ministry to liaise constantly with Raw Material Research Institute, so that some of these companies can be incubated, can be grown, and then most of the additives that we're importing into Nigeria today, we produce within. We conserve as much as possible our foreign exchange reserves. So on the whole, I commend her, I congratulate her, but I want you to please take note of some of these areas that I've mentioned. I thank you.
Yeah, so what it means is you may be among the first of the new ministers to convoke a kind of national dialogue on trade and investment with a view to getting inputs from stakeholders and practitioners. Do you understand? It will help you to reposition your ministry and meet the aspirations of Mr. President and the renewed hope agenda of the President. A lot is expected from you. Why? Because of your resume. So, Ide Dafinone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues. Ide Dafinone, representing Delta Central. I want to say, Mr. President, that Dr. Oduwole's qualifications, experience, and ability is not in any doubt. The interest that we are all showing here today is, as you said, in the capacity that she has and what she has to offer Nigerians. I'm an exporter, and in my previous life I represented exporters at the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. And in that capacity, we have identified that Nigeria's need for foreign exchange can be served through growing non-oil exports. That growing of non-oil exports falls within the minister's portfolio. One of the biggest incentives for growing non-oil exports is the Export Expansion Grant. And this has been managed over the last 20 years in fits and starts. At the moment, it is in one of its fits. And it is shown by the numbers for the last 20 years that any time the Export Expansion Grant is being properly applied, exports, non-oil exports, grow in leaps and bounds through those periods. So the non-oil exporters have asked me to put to the nominee a question to ask her what she will do in terms of growing non-oil exports. Thank you very much.
So, the ball is in your court.
Thank you, sir, the President of the Senate. Thank you very much indeed for these very pertinent and interesting questions. I would like to recognize and appreciate the comments from the distinguished minority leader, the distinguished leader of the Senate, the distinguished Deputy Senate President, the Chief Whip, my senator, the distinguished senator from Lagos Central, and specifically questions from Senator Buhari Abdul Fatai. And I'll come to answering his question. I want to group them. Questions from distinguished Senator Mohammed Sani Musa, questions from distinguished Senator Adams Oshomole, and questions from distinguished Senator Issa Jibrin, and questions from distinguished Senator Ide Dafinone. What I would do, with the kind permission of the President of the Senate, is to group the questions in a way that the answers would flow coherently and to touch on what has been asked of me today. I will first group economic focus on investment, productivity, and job creation. Since the commencement of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR's administration, key reforms in monetary and fiscal policy aimed at stabilizing the economy have started to deliver some results. In terms of inflation, gently starting to come down, and the tax reforms are also ongoing. Perhaps what we now need to deliver is the convergence of these two pillars of monetary and fiscal policy with trade, investment, and industrial policies to further drive growth. While acknowledging that in the last 5 years, FDI has declined by about 86%, and we've had about 20 multinational companies exit or scale down, the 3 priority areas that I would work on to align with the existing and ongoing policies, if confirmed by this hallowed chamber, would be investment retention and attraction, boosting exports and foreign exchange earnings, and creating productive jobs through vibrant domestic industry. Recent efforts by His Excellency, Mr. President, in his capacity as Chief Investment Officer of the Economy, has yielded some tangible results, and there's a key role of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment and NIPC, an agency under it, $1 billion pledges from Indian investors for steel development, petrochemicals, power, and more. And a year later, on September 6, 2024, Jindal Steel Africa committed $3 billion to Nigeria's steel industry on the back of the ongoing economic reforms. So retaining domestic investment and deepening these reforms will help attract even more foreign direct investment. That was the first question, and that's really what we need to do, to stay the course and to deepen and quicken our reforms. Another example I'll touch on quickly is Outsource Global, a service company that is currently receiving technical assistance from colleagues in the Office of the Vice President. They have an initiative focused on exporting IT services and delivering, which are being delivered by young Nigerians living in Nigeria on a global scale. So they're earning foreign exchange while living at home. And I was asked the question about how do we create jobs and are we going to continue to import? We're exporters of services. One of the most important things that needs to be done is collaboration, coordination of ministries, departments, agencies, regulators, and infrastructure to jointly strive towards improving competitiveness in energy supply, to support our productivity and competitiveness of our businesses. I have a proven track record on being able to collaborate across all arms and levels of government. Indeed, with the 8th National Assembly, in attracting capital for and credit for small and medium-sized enterprises. The National Assembly passed the Collateral Bill, which is the secured credits and transactions, which enabled the central bank to have legal instrument to have a collateral registry nationwide that enables banks and microcredit institutions to lend to more small businesses. Another area would be the supporting of free trade zones and special economic zones to enhance operational efficiency. They're very important for manufacturing investments to come into Nigeria and promoting localized production. Nigeria has 55 licensed free trade zones, currently contributing to the GDP, but there's a lot more, and significant jobs can be produced by that. The second thing in the area of trade, boosting exports so that we can earn more foreign exchange. As we support MSMEs and larger enterprises to access markets, collaborating with stakeholders to increase exports, supporting them practically and tangibly, Nigerian Export Promotion Council leads this charge, and there's a lot more that can be done. Even the silver lining in leveraging the current FX rate is an opportunity to deepen exports, because our goods are currently cheaper for exports and also cheaper for domestic consumption. So it's an opportunity for all of us to buy Nigerian, to support Nigerian businesses and consume what is made in Nigeria. That will create jobs and encourage these businesses and make sure they stay in business. Another example is working with the PEREC experience, working with over 53 ministries, departments, and agencies at the federal level. One example that comes to mind is partnering with Nigerian Customs Service on delivering reforms with ease of doing business. by making sure that the trade facilitation is continued to be improved. The Nigerian Customs Service leadership recently launched the Authorized Economic Operator Program, which enhances trade facilitation, and recently accepted and agreed to include the PEBEC Business Champions, the Platinum PEBEC Business Champions, which are 23 businesses that earn over $1 billion per annum in revenue, into the next cohort in Q1 of 2025. This will ameliorate existing difficulties within supply chain and strengthen Nigerian exports promotion in the global community. Another key area will be the African Continental Free Trade Area, supporting businesses to export high-quality products. Having jobs is not enough. We need jobs that are productive. We need jobs that have a higher level of income for Nigerians. And services is another good opportunity, as I already spoke on. We need to align with global standards and regulations so that our goods seamlessly cross our borders and we can earn the dollars that we so desperately need. We can plug into global value chains. An example, I would name one. There's an EU deforestation regulation which mandates that producers or suppliers of goods originating from countries outside the EU must prove that they're not from recently deforested lands or are not contributing to forest degradation. Now, this regulation is coming to effect at the end of 2024, and the regulation impacts commodities critical to Nigeria's economy, including cocoa, palm oil, rubber, which constitute 9.3% of Nigeria's non-oil fuel exports to the European Union. Without compliance, the impact of this will be to put Nigerian exporters in that agricultural space at risk, especially the cocoa industry that contributes about 70% of Nigeria's agricultural exports to the EU. They'll be at immediate risk. So those are some of the things that need to be addressed promptly. I can.
No, are you true?
No, sir, but...
Because you were interrupted. Continue. I'm listening to you.
Okay.
Nigerians are listening to you. The
So
global community is listening to you.
Thank you very much.
So forget the man who is telling you it's okay. He wants to go and eat.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Huh?
The third thing will be to create productive jobs through vibrant domestic industry. And I spoke about the need for high-value productive jobs, effective regulatory reforms and ease of doing business, not to vie in that direction because I've worked on that for the last 9 years, but to say that that is a pivotal area that would allow Nigerians, for example, focusing on AFCFTA to align Nigerian companies to access a $3.4 trillion African market of 55 countries with a population of 1.3 billion people. We will create jobs, we will expand our workforce capacity by doing this. To touch on regulatory reforms and why they're so important, the mandate of the Council that I've had the privilege of leading the intervention for the last 8 years focuses on people issues, processes, and to a lesser extent, infrastructure, specifically the cost and speed of doing business and transparency. Currently, distinguished Senator Sadiq Umar, representing Kwara North, and the chair of Senate Committee on Trade and Investment, he's the current representative of the 10th National Assembly on the Presidential Enabling Business Council. And together, that council, the members of that council, have continued to work on 5 key areas: legislative reforms, of which the 9th National Assembly also passed the Business Facilitation Miscellaneous Provisions Act of 2022, unprecedented regulatory reforms. The 8th and then the 9th National Assembly also passed, reenacted the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, which had not been overhauled in 3 decades. The impact of these was a 70% reduction in business regulation times and an increase in formal MSME regulations, which also contributes to the revenue of the federal government. So regulatory reforms is another key area. We've worked on transparency, efficiency, things like visa on arrival, to ease the entry of, for instance, you can have a business meeting on Monday in Switzerland.
Distinguished Ministerial nominee, you are talking about the things you have done already. What the Senate wanted to hear are the things you are going to do. Because we are saying that things can get better with your coming as a minister. You understand? So if you focus more on the things you have done in the past, we will not be too impressed. We want to know the things you are going to do to make things much, much better based on your experience and resume. So I would suggest that you collate most of the things that you heard, the questions, the comments, and the advice. Put them together to go and use those things when you are in the office as working tools. You understand? To commence the reforms you are going to put in place to revitalize the sector in the area of trade and investment. I must say that you've done very well. I offered you a seat, and you said no, that you don't want the seat. So if you fall, it's not the fault of the Senate President, because I done my part. And then, just before I put the question, I noticed you've done a lot of publications. On your page 4, you publish a journal in the Private and Property Law Journal, International Trade Disputes Remedies, How Equitable for Africa. Those were your thoughts.
Yes, sir.
And you went further to publish WTO Special and Differential Treatment, Africa's Golden Fleece or Trojan Horse.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
And so many others. So you're a thinker. And I know that you think out of the box if the Senate confirms you. But just before you go, I want to also acknowledge the presence in your delegation of your dear sister, Mrs. Oyinka Badejo Oguzanya, who is not only my learned friend, but was the chair of the recently concluded Nigerian Bar Association a conference in August. So it means it's a well-bred family. I thank you for coming to the Red Chambers with your delegation. Distinguished colleagues, can the nominee now take a bow? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, the Minister Designate for Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, a lawyer by training. She has a master's degree and a PhD from Stanford University in the USA. She's been involved in investment activities and the ease of doing business in Nigeria, as she said. In the last 9 years, she worked in that sector under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, and she was before our appointment as a minister, a special advisor to President Tinubu.
Sweba Said Ahmad.